Haskell Indian Nation Junior.
Welcome to our next presentation at the 6th Annual Cultural Celebration Indigenuity 2.0. It is our honor to, again, the people coming in today, you really need to come down and meet them because they are so full of joy and so full of knowledge. And I just want to talk about Dr. Mae Hey, has come all the way from Virginia, from the Virginia Tech. And I mean, your bona fides are way too long to talk about that, but I want you to tell a little bit about what you do, because this is the most synergistic group of people that all link to do a good work on climate change and taking care of our planet. I always say, find your pod. Well, this is the best pod I have ever seen in my life come together, and we hope that they go out into the world and do more good work. Today is our talking circle with Dr. Mae Hey, and I hope you'll join us and start your own talking circle wherever you are out in the world. Dr. Mae Hey, thank you.
So we have one mic here, and then we have one mic to pass around the group. And so sometimes they describe me as a lecturer, or they say I'm going to give a presentation, but really I'm just going to try and facilitate a conversation. So I'll start maybe with introducing myself. And when I was little, my brother was made sick by our land, specifically the water. And so it's funny how your life situates you. You know, my mom, she says that your trauma is often not your fault, but your healing is your responsibility. So sometimes you have a vantage into the world of challenging things, but it's your responsibility to take care of it. So I have spent a lot of my life doing that. And when my brother was sick, though, and this is what I wanted to start with, was I trained horses. And horses are lovely sense-making beings, and they don't speak English. And I had to work with them, and they had to work with me, and we had to figure out our relationship. And then later, when I went to school, I was a baker. And bread is alive, and it responds to its environment. It would maybe love this humidity and doesn't like the cold so much. And bread also doesn't speak English. And I had to negotiate that relationship every day. And then I was a geologist, and I wanted to learn the stories that rocks could tell about where they came from and what they were doing now, and also what kind of climates they had experienced, maybe what affected that, so that we could be better beings now. And also, rocks don't speak English. So we had to figure out how to communicate, and I became a teacher then. And I worked with little kids, and they were learning English. So I had some language speakers, but it was limited. And,
I'm sorry. Did you say you worked with horses?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, horses.
Have you read the book Horse Whisperer?
I have not read the book Horse Whisperer. Did you see the book, or did see the movie about Buck? About Buck? I think it's called Buck, where he trains horses. And a lot of them are real challenging. Those were the kind I worked with.
Okay.
Yeah, and my mom took me to see that when I was little, and she says, this guy reminds me of you, and I cried the whole movie because I was so touched that my mom thought so much of me. And so in working with little kids, and now older people, all those years of not speaking English and communicating with things that could teach me to be a better being, and have helped me be a better being, I now help other people learn those ways, because nature is our most patient and persistent teacher. So I'm like a translator. But also, I'm saying this because if I stumble over my words or I seem awkward, it's because I'm, kind of struggling with English and language and things like that. And I don't want to hog everything today. So I still work a lot with things that don't speak English. After I finished my doctorate, I went to go visit the tribes to see how we could be useful. And I work at a university where they have a Latin like motto or saying, and translations, if you speak other languages, are often sort of not quite one-to-one. So they translate our motto as "that I may serve." And to me, I've been served lots of stuff that I didn't want, I didn't ask for, I don't know what to do with. And it can also be translated as "that I may be useful." So like I said, I'm just going to try and facilitate a conversation, and I hope things that I say might be useful, and I know that you all will say useful things too. So right now, when I went to visit the tribes, one concern they had was with food security. And a lot of the tribes in Virginia are living on rural places, and there isn't food being grown for them. So I have a big, large indigenous friendship garden that I steward, and we take care of old seeds that are often reclaiming their place on their land. And so that, like, if you're a seed, you can't talk English, but your struggle is real to re-inhabit your place. And I watch them do that, and I think, well, if it's hard for them, it's hard for the kids that are coming up. It's hard for all of us to find that place. And when we have seeds, we rematriate them back to their tribes, and then we share knowledge on what's working and what's not working, because sometimes we get super excited about the seeds, and we don't know how to support them like we did at one point. Also, I'm new to that land because I'm from the Lower East Side of Lake Huron. So I'm not from Virginia, so I'm learning those ways too. Then also, we grow foods that you don't see in the grocery store. So I teach people how to make them into food. And I think, again, nature being our most patient and persistent teacher, a seed is an ancestral care package. Like, it's all packed up and ready to go, and you have that seed, and you start to nurture it, and you put it in the ground, and first it'll grow things that look like leaves, but they are still gifts from the ancestors. They're food storage leaves. And if you keep loving and keep nurturing, and you might get to see the identity of that plant, the true leaf. And then at that point, that plant can start interring what it will gift the next generation. And from then, we transform those foods through a community meal into love and connection and memories. And if you think about our lives, we start as an ancestral gift. We start as a gift from our ancestors. We come into this place. We need a lot of nurturing. We can't do anything for ourselves at first. And then if we get enough love, and we get enough care, and we get enough resources from those relatives who love us, we can start to sprout and have a true leaf also, and express our identity and start interring all the goodness into the next generation again. So and then we move on, and we become love and connection and memories. So my hope is that if I do this over and over and over again, I get good at it. Right? That's what we want to do. We want to be good love and connection and memories for other people. And I'm pulling as many people along with me as I can on that journey. So that's a little bit about me. I was in here, I like to get here early because I am such a nervous creature, and I like to see everybody trickle in and meet everybody, and also get comfortable with the land and other people's homes, so I know how to respect it and carry on those traditions of excellence that are here. And when they were building this tent, I was thinking this is going to be a tent of excellence. So adding to the nervousness of this little creature is some of the people in this room I knew before, and they're superheroes to me. I've seen their excellence in the world, and a lot of my life, I sort of questioned, am I enough? Because there's a lot, maybe I should explain this too, is for colonization to happen, like there's a place that is lacking something. And so they go to another place with the intent of exploiting. humans all carry, I think, a moral fiber where if we know how we're related to something, we can't exploit it, we can't mistreat it. So somehow that has to be severed. And I've also found, or maybe I think, that humans are pretty simple creatures, and if you start exploiting something, you start exploiting everything. So it could start with a thing, like rocks, or trees, or water, and then it could be all the land, and all the animals, and then all your neighbors, and all your relatives, and then yourself. So a lot of my life I've spent trying to be enough because I'm fed these narratives a lot of you're not. So today, I'm nervous because I'm in such a tent of excellence. I'm meeting new relatives with other superpowers, and that's what we're in conversation to do, is keep a pulse on what everybody's superpower is and get acquainted. And also, this is kind of a neat thing, is we are having this talking circle to meet each other, what brought us here, what our ideas are, and then also we can revisit this tomorrow. And I do that all the time where I come away from a conversation and I think, I forgot to say this, I forgot to say that, I should have said this, I want to look this up before I see those people tomorrow and next time. And so we'll have that chance tomorrow to meet back up and think of all of the smart things that we wanted to say today but we thought of later. Or maybe that's just me, maybe that's what I do. I thought maybe we would just start with our names, and also something that other people know us by that's a good thing. So, for example, in my life, I said earlier that your trauma is not your fault, but your healing is your responsibility. When I was a younger person, I had a very hot temper. And it was physical, and that comes from long, unhealed traumas of violence and things like that. And so now, and I might even cry when I say it, but when people think of me, they often say, that's Mae Hey. She's kind and gentle. And sometimes when people tell you something enough, it's easier to become it. Okay, like I said, we all come here, we need love, and Dr. Wildcat said it too, we need love and to germinate, to express our identity and our true selves. So that's me, Mae Hey, kind and gentle. So should we go? You have the mic, Dr. Wildcat. Who are you and what do other people know you by?
Well, I think I already did a short introduction, but yes, good morning, everyone. Daniel Wildcat. I am an enrolled Zoyaha, a Yuchi member of the Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma, the Creek Nation. Been teaching at Haskell Indian Nations University for the last 36. I think when January rolls around, if Creator looks kindly on me and I'm still taking that first breath of air every morning, I'll start my 37th year teaching at Haskell. So I'm reminded of that when I have students today who come up to me and they go, Dr. Wildcat, my mom and dad took your course, and they said I better pay attention. So, and that's been, I guess, the greatest gift that was given to me. I've had the good fortune to be known as a teacher, and I hold that very, very dearly, that to be a teacher and what that means. And so I've matured as a teacher. I'm still pretty tough. When students get their papers back, they have a lot of red ink on it, and they know that I've given it a good going over. But I literally, in the last 3 years, I think it started with COVID, I started doing something that I had never done before. And I greet my students every morning and I say, how are you, beautiful people? I want them to know everyone has beauty within them. And so I greet them that way. And when I leave them, I either say, remember, be well, be safe, be good. And if I am mindful, I always tell them I love them. Now, I don't know if that might be frowned upon in some universities, but it's not in mine, because I want those students to know I love them. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. There's something called tough love. I learned about that as a student. But I think that's really important today. And so that's what I'll share with you. And I'm so glad to have new relatives. I consider you my relative. We are all related. That's what evolution tells us. We're all connected. That's what ecology tells us. Turns out my Muskogee and my Yuchi relatives weren't so dumb after all. They knew that since time immemorial. We're all related. All life is related. And I think we do well to remember that in the world today. You know what? That would be a good thing to remember. So that's what I'll share with you today.
I don't know how to hold this.
As close as possible.
Like this?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
Okay. I'm Diane Ferguson. I'm known for making lemonade out of lemons. Just this morning, a friend texted to me that I take her lemons and make lemonade out of it. So anyway, I worked with kids for many years. Until I had an aneurysm burst in my brain. And so I'm rebuilding myself. I try to be positive, and while I was working with kids, I tried to impart that to the kids, that even if something happens they aren't happy about, it can always be worse. I very much like what you said. I'm a member of the Baha'i faith, and we're very strong into unity. And so I don't know.
Thank you.
Well, I'm Jerry Park. I grew up on a farm in Clarksville, Arkansas, on Spadler Creek, which my father, we had like 80 acres of land there. And on the east side of the creek was a factory in which the indigenous American Indians picked up their supplies. And then on the west side of the creek is right where it flows into the Arkansas River. That's where they lived. We called it our Red Hill Farm. And we collected many, many artifacts, because anytime they would till the ground and after it rained, we'd go, us kids and the adults too, would go looking over the tilled earth, and there would be points and axes and grinding bowls. We found lots of things. So my dad had quite a collection, and part of it was passed on to me, and I donated some of it to here, but most of it is at the Johnson County Historical Society in Clarksville, and which is where Spadler Creek is. But that Spadler Creek area, Spadler Bluff, was where Chief John Jolly, I don't know if it was his last stand or a camp before he moved on to Oklahoma, but his adopted son, Sam Houston, was there and was married to Chief John Jolly's daughter. And then Sam Houston went on to Texas, and Dr. Wildcat told me what I lived with Dr. Wildcat. What did he
Just
say?
speak in the mic.
Oh, like this?
Yep.
Oh. Well, my wife tells me I talk too loud anyway, so. But okay.
Later we can start a band.
Yeah.
Once we get good with the mics.
Is that better?
That's great.
All right. All right. But anyway, and my good friend Kent Westbrook, who has a book out on lots of Indian artifacts, and he's got a ceremonial piece here at the museum. He and I hunted together, because he lived at Clarksville also, but he's a medical doctor in at UAMS, but he's retired now. But he and I, he's got a great collection of artifacts. Mainly, he's gotten down to pottery now, and has lots of great ceremonial pieces and other pieces that he's collected over the years. But the Spadder Bluffs area south of Clarksville was a Native American encampment and on their Trail of Tears route. Of course, the Trail of Tears route included lots of different routes. They always think most of it came up the Arkansas River on the north side, but no. Here in Bentonville, there's a branch of the Trail of Tears coming from the north. But you were talking of food, and I'm sorry I can't remember the name of the beans, but they're multicolored beans. They grew in the bluff dwellers, which are southwest of Pagosa Springs, Colorado. And they grew this particular bean. I can't remember the name. It starts with an L. I can call my wife after a while and find out, or tell you tomorrow. But we get those beans, and we love them. They're a great bean, and that's what these bluff dwellers, that was their primary source of food. Are you familiar with the bluff dwellers south there in Colorado? There's a nice tourist information and a great thing. Also talking about food, I'm sure you're familiar with the Three Sisters that the Indians, the Native Americans grew. We were in Fayetteville yesterday, and we saw a store called the Three Sisters. So I explained to my wife, I said, "Oh, there's Three Sisters." She said, "Well, what does that mean?" I said, "Well, it was what the Native Americans grew, corn, beans. The corn provided a trellis for the beans, and squash. And then they put I think it was squash, and then they put their fish in between these to act as a organic fertilizer." So my favorite motto is try to do something good for someone else today and tomorrow. And my grandmother used to make apple pies, and she would peel the apples and make the apple pie and save the peelings and make apple jelly with them. And her motto was "Waste not, want not." So I try to tell my wife that. She said, "Well, we don't have to. I'm not going to make any apple jelly out of peelings." But my grandmother always had a little money. When I went to school, she would send me money every week. I'm a semi-retired optometrist, so I had like almost 8 years of college, including I went to university here for little over 3 years. But I still see patients occasionally when a doctor calls me to fill in for them if they're on. But I love it when I'm through and they leave and I say, well, I hope you're going to be a happy camper. And I said, a happy camper is you're going to see well, but when you go camping, it's not going to rain on you. But now
Yeah.
we can use the rain on us now.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. My name is Rocio, and I am a Native American born in Mexico. And I am here because I am attracted to the topics. My background is I've been working as a dental surgeon for over 20 years. So that's my background, always very academic. But since I run a clinic in Mexico, so we kind of live back and forth in Mexico and here. And the first thing that I really liked about this area was this museum, and that we have a place where we can honor our ancestors and just do something different. Not just, because I felt first like it was a really close community, but it like a very close, like square community. But now I have a different idea of this. So if I can volunteer doing anything here, I'll be happy for that. Because I don't do my practice here, but of course I do it kind of virtually. I advise my colleagues in my clinic, and I do those things. And I feel very attracted to what you said and to what he said. How we are all related, how I plant the seeds of love in every being, and the children, adolescents, and even adults who have never been told they are loved. And I do the same. I love my patients. I always have a really close connection and relationship with them, always. And many times, I spend more time talking the first visits, because that's what they want to be. They come here to my office like sometimes crying, very traumatized with events in the past. And many events are not even in their lives. They come from different generations. Mm-hmm. And I also loved your words about the seeds, how we plant our food. Now I consider, since the pandemic, I was born in a very rustic community. My father was a bricklayer, but he was also a peasant. He used to grow beans, corn, and squash. So when you said the Three Little Sisters, I grew up on that. So, and since then, I think I love the soil, the earth, and I'm always connected to that. I'm very, very domestic person, even though I have my academics behind me. I'm always connected to the earth. I always grow whatever I can grow. I always have dirt in my nails, my fingernails, and I love cooking from scratch. And so that's what I'm trying to honor in this journey now, because I always say I have had different lives in my life. And now, since the pandemic, I kind of retook a lot of things that I kind of forgot because I became so busy. Even though I grew up in an agricultural environment with helping my mother, my father, and living a very, very, very primitive way compared to the modern society here in the U.S., right? So since the pandemic, I retook other things that I was leaving behind that I always dreamt of. Like I took a master's on, we call it trophology, which means it's a really, not everybody knows this word, but it's like the study of the food. And it's like, it's not just the study of the food as a nutritionist, because we study the food from the energetic, place, from how we are related to every field in this world. So how we are affected emotionally, energetically, and how we take our decisions. So since then, I consider myself an activist, because it's not an activist because I promote now that this is what I love, what I've been doing besides my dental practice. I give lectures about food, and I love teaching, like workshops, how to cook in a different way, and like going back to what we came for, because we have forgotten in this modern world what we came here for. Like just, be happy, be loved, and nourish ourselves. So we have fallen into this modern society of eating what they give us, which is poison. And we don't realize, we trust all the agencies, and we don't know what is behind. So now for the last 6 or 3-4 months, I've been given like workshops on how to cook. I love with youngsters because they're easier. We have become so lazy, and we love grabbing things from cans, from jars, and going to fast food. And with people that, I believe that the youngsters have a different way they're looking at the cruelty behind eating meat and those things that, as you mentioned, right? Or we can say, oh, yes, we love our sisters. We are no more than the animals. But we don't know, we happily go and maybe go to a race, an activist race, and go back and eat a hamburger or a chicken sandwich, and we don't know the cruelty behind it. How the cows are raped, how the animals are killed. And so I'm trying to, just make or create awareness with whoever wants to do it, and they take the choices. At least they know what is behind a cheese. And so I love teaching different ways of cooking, which is from scratch. I make everything from scratch, everything. Trying to use always using local elements or whatever we have, available. And with that awareness, we don't, we contribute to stop the disasters, on our Mother Earth, right? If we love our mother, we gotta do something. We gotta stop it, because this is not fiction. It's coming, right? So it's here. There's a book. And it's scientific, we don't believe that it's on books, on people there's a lot of people behind, a lot of scientists working on all this. So that's why now I call, when people ask me, you this is, I consider myself an activist for Mother Earth, on Mother Earth. But from my own perspective, no, I don't run races, or I don't do that. I just try to teach other ways to people. I'm trying to teach them how to cook can you stop that, please? How to cook in a different way, how we get our resources, how people say, oh yeah, but you're gonna lack this, because you really need meat. No, in the old times we didn't need that, we were hunters, right? So hunting was not like, we got animals every day. So and how to balance that, where you find the real sources of protein and this and that, and also looking at our food with respect. That's how I look at it, with respect and love. And I have a daughter, she's 17. So between all those things, and I'm very proud that my daughter, I never impose anything, she's just following my steps. Thank you very much for the invitation, and I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you.
Let me clarify something I said that was my favorite saying, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it is treat everyone else as you would like to be treated yourself.
Mm-hmm. The golden rule. Mm-hmm.
My name is Tom Morset, and thank you so much for the invitation. Charlotte, you do an amazing job here. Wow, it's incredible. Every time I come, I'm touched, moved, and inspired. So it's fantastic to be part of this community, and so nice to meet all of you, and to be able to share this sacred space, this highly positively charged space. I don't have the loudest voice, so sorry about that. But anyway, my name's Tom, and my wife, Rocio, and I moved to the area going on 3 years ago. We bought a place and started remodeling it and kind of learning more and more about the community and enjoying the community more and more. I also have a business in Mexico. It's called Present Moment. It's a wellness retreat center, Present Moment Retreat. And we are in service to others. We teach classes, meditation, yoga, all sorts of mindfulness and mind, body, spirit activities, and massage, body work, and all the other wonderful things. We're on the Pacific coast, so the lines are blurred between the indoors and the out. It's quite beautiful. And so I have the great fortune of co-creating potentially transformational experiences with our guests. So it's quite a wonderful vocation, you know, to be able to move, touch, and inspire other people with our work, to put others first, naturally, organically, often, always, and to co-create and come together and to have empathy and values that we honor in all that we say and all that we do. To take a deep breath around our emotions and our reactions, and like this wonderful gentleman said about you know, treat others like you would enjoy being treated. Because just take a second, you know, it's not that challenging to take a deep breath. You know, the classic, is it going to matter in 5 minutes or 5 days or 5 weeks? Or you're going to get your panties in a bundle for no particular reason just because you don't know how to skillfully manage your emotion. So it's nice to be a part of that ideology. It's nice to know that we do have the power to make a difference with our speech and our actions and our behaviors and what we offer unselfishly to our friends, our family, the community at large, and to the universe. So that's the path I've chosen, and it feels pretty good to be on it and to share it with all of you. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Hello, my name is James Algier. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be here, to meet you guys, and to share a little bit about myself today. I'm going to do my best to speak from the heart and not my fast mind that makes me nervous, and this is kind of a little bit out of my comfort zone. But I come from Southwest Florida. Okay. And that's the land of the Calusa people that are no longer there. It's currently inhabited by the Seminole and the Miccosukee. I have a lot of different blood in me. I won't get into all that. But yeah, I'm somebody that fixes things, and I bridge gaps and bring people together, and I'm so excited to hear you guys talk about community, growing food, oneness, togetherness. These are all things that are very important to me, the sanctity of life. And to also dance and play music and have fun, and how we got here, I believe is divine. The problems that we face are all perfect, and I really look forward to making solutions with you guys to these problems that we're all facing. So thank you so much for letting me be here today.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Well, for my tribe, I am a Yenta. I love putting people together. And I love that of all the billions of people in this world, we all met. And my background started off as a young woman was as a Montessori teacher. And I love to see each gift in each one of us. We all have a tremendous gift. And I'm lucky enough to be at the Museum of Native American History where I get to braid time. We get to tell the story, you know, of on the shoulders and the diversity and the different cultures, and, you know, the Creator never made any one of us the same. Birds, fish, us, grass. And so to pay that forward where, you know, I always see the innocent hope of a child, but with action. And then the wisdom of the elder in my DNA, you know, going around my spine. And what I love the most is that when I see you all come in, I am absolutely open to your conversations. I love the free range conversation. And so that we can give a platform of conversation to the story that we tell that David created of the first people from all of the Americas to share that is our collective history. But what makes me happy now with this amazing crew that we have from Aenimate Media Foundation production, we can record this. We can be a resource for educators and students of all ages. Because what I hope, and I've talked to Dan about this, the idea of planting the seeds of traditional knowledge and to see them take root and to grow, that I never want to see this next generation have the light in their eyes extinguished. I want to, you know, I spoke Saturday at the Crystal Bridges about Constitution Day. Well, that is a great, great beginning. But the idea of equality for all, and that we're all storytellers, and that we can empty ourselves when I meet you and you and you. I know nothing about you, but you'll tell me a little about you, and that's what we're doing today. And I'll tell you a little about me. And then we start building this beautiful community and bond has foundation. You know, that is my honor every day to meet you all and open that door and be that watcher and who, you know, the little door that opens of conversation that it just keeps growing. And if we want to make this world a better place, it's like, let's just keep looking at each other in the eyes and talking to each other. So that's why I get up every morning and I'm excited and I love you all and thank you for joining us. And let's all pay it forward.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Hi, my name is Selita, and I'm with the American Indian Center of Arkansas. As part of why I did come today is just to share what we can do and all kind of be in a bigger circle. I think for me, I grew up on a couple 100-acre farm. There was not an animal we did not have. There was not a plant we didn't grow. I mean, it was just wild. I mean, it really was, and in a beautiful way to grow up. I'm very thankful for it. As I've gotten older and I live in Little Rock now and like in a proper city, I guess, I feel I've gotten disconnected, and also being in Arkansas, being away from like the res, like there is a disconnect, and that was part of what drew me to the Indian Center, was to connect those dots. And I love that you said that like you're the bridge builder, and I've always kind of thought the same of myself. It's like I like to connect those dots, and I like to put people in. And when I walked in and met you, it was like immediate. It was like, oh, this is gonna be wonderful. We're gonna have such a, you know, amazing connection, especially for the state of Arkansas. So I'm so happy to be here. And if there's any questions you have of what the center can do for any of you guys, please just tap me on the shoulder, grab me, whatever. So thank you.
Thank you, Selita.
Okay, well, I guess I'm Johnny J, and I'm from the Otoe, Missouri, and Choctaw tribes of Oklahoma. Currently living in LA, and I guess you would say I'm a rowdy native. When it comes to change making, I am a co-founder of Not Your Mascots and Live Indigenous OK, and I'm also what we call a part of the Fan Organizer Coalition. because I believe that representation matters. So most of the work that I do is centered around Native representation in the media. And as part of like the Fan Organizer Coalition, what we do is we examine the media that we're consuming, whether it's Star Wars or Doctor Who, and we talk about the representation within that media and also how our fandoms can get involved with addressing the issues that we face in Indian country or in any of our communities, like how we can bridge those gaps and work together better. So, you know, I think that's one of my favorite things to do is to talk about the media, which is why I'm so glad to be here, because it's been too long, but tomorrow I'll be presenting Surviving the Zombie Apocalypse Res Style, because it's a fun way to encourage our youth to engage in our ancestral knowledge and to understand the ways that, you know, it helped us survive colonization, but the ways that it can still help us survive now, and that it still has a place and a use. And I'm really excited to be here.
Johnny, you two are sitting together. My intent was to have you two sit together.
Thank you. My name is Samantha Best, and I do work at Crystal Bridges. I'm doing some interpretation in their outdoor space, and I'm very interested in bringing Indigenous knowledge into that conversation in a really meaningful way. But I'd kind of rather talk on a personal note. I think if, the question you asked of what's one thing people would say about you, that was really hard. You really had to think about it. And I really think that people call me the plant lady. So my passion for a very long time now has been with plants, and that is certainly growing to insects and all, life. But I really loved when you were talking about the fact that, you were talking to these things, but they don't speak English. And so I felt very connected to that, because I talk to plants all the time, and like literally. And I'm kind of finally getting to a place where I'm more in observation mode. And it's kind of a beautiful thing to stop talking to them and stop wanting things and actually just watch and observe, and then figure out what you can kind of learn from those observations. I'm actually from the Northeast. I'm from Massachusetts. I've only been in Arkansas for a year. And I think one thing that's been really kind of eye-opening to me is that, obviously there were plenty of Indigenous people in the Northeast, but they're very hidden. And I think when you grow up there, you almost have this idea that they were there instead of that they are there. And so my knowledge has always been what limited in what I know, but I've always personally just always had this really deep connection to the earth and the plants in particular. And when I moved to Arkansas, I was actually really amazed here. The presence, while it's not probably what it should be, it's just kind of amazing to be here and see that the people are and have always been here. And that's just been, I think we've talked about that a little bit, Charlotte. It's just been kind of really eye-opening and makes me wonder a lot of things. Like, why didn't I know more? Why don't I know more, just in general? So that's just been really eye-opening. And then I just wanted to give a shout out to the book Braiding Sweetgrass, which it's actually taken me a year to read, because in that same way of learning, of talking to the plants, when I first started reading the book, I was taking notes, because I was trying to be active and wanted to absorb everything that she was saying, and felt so moved. Like, I almost felt like finally someone got me. Like, everything she was saying, that was me, and I couldn't believe that somebody could put it into words so beautifully. But it took me a year to read it, because I was so determined that I had to always take notes on everything, that I always felt like I had to be in this absolutely perfect space, that I had to have the time to write the notes, that I couldn't be disturbed. And right, who has that kind of time? Really, you just don't get that. And so I finally was like, this is crazy. Just read the book and just absorb and observe the book. And it's just, I don't know, today that just kind of all came full circle to me, like why it took me so long to get through it, and just that idea of when you observe, then you appreciate. And it's no longer extractive, it's no longer about what you need, but it's what can you learn and how can you be a partner. So I'm just really excited to be here and to hopefully make some connections with you all.
I want to share my braiding sweetgrass with you, and we'll see how doggy they are.
And then mine next.
So can I just say one thing?
Oh, yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So when you said that you think you felt bad in a way because you should have known more, that's intentional. That was intentional that you did not learn. So just, release that because that's not on you. Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, and gosh, every time someone spoke, I wanted to jump across the circle and say, "This is what I want to say." Ah! It's so hard to hold all the thoughts in your head in a talking circle, but I think it's really good practice for us. And my mom, she says too, the stuff that stays with you, that's what you're meant to say now. And that relates to sacred breath. We have to be so, once we release words, they're out there in the world, they do their own thing, they live their own lives. And so we need to honor their living spirit. But just when you were talking, Samantha, too, I was thinking about, the gardens that I build are in places that have been tennis courts or turf grass research centers or things like that, and we're reclaiming them. And it is a struggle for the plants, and then it's a struggle for us to figure out our specific relationship to them, but that's really good practice too. And the one where I have my friendship garden, that was the Turf Grass Research Center. And when we unzipped all that monoculture, within a week, the native plants came back. And I asked how long that had been monoculture or this non-native grass or whatever, and they said 40 years. And so I think that we carry around enduring seeds within us too, and we might be experiencing monoculture a lot, but whenever we can have a space like this where we can kind of push it aside, those enduring seeds get a chance to sprout and see the light a little bit and then grow. The other thing I was going to say was about how this is an opportunity, because I always, when I get a chance to interview people or something, I will always wonder about the word activist. I asked my mom, what do you think about activists? She goes, "You trying to paint a target on you?" Or I think about things like that. And I also think the kind of activist I want to be is one that sees long, hard struggles as opportunities to learn and share and grow, as opportunities to mobilize our gifts rather than become that monoculture. Like this, we all shared something different today. And then also opportunities to find out each other's superpowers, keep a pulse on it, and mobilize that, right? Also, in my garden, I had so many things. I was I want to say something to every one of you. In my garden, we started, and this is why I think people are simple creatures. We started, we unzipped the rhizomes, and a lot of tended wilds came back up, and people said, "Your garden is messy." And I was like, this is a traditional garden. We have to tend it. We have to take care of it. We're not trying to promote monoculture. We're trying to see how all these plants live together and feed each other, and we're trying to understand our place within this structure. And we planted corn, beans, and squash, and the plants we're planting are struggling to reclaim their place on their traditional lands, so they're not always perfect, and we can see their struggle. And so sometimes when I ask somebody, "How you doing?" They're like, "I'm good." And I'm like, the corn isn't, the corn can't lie, the squash can't lie. So sometimes I think, well, sometimes we're made to be okay when we're not okay. And the kids will tell you, they'll say, "Well, Mae says that seeds don't lie." And so we started with that, and I've gotten to visit a lot of relatives who are trying different techniques to be supportive. So working in an institution, it helps me see a lot of structures we've created that possibly promote invisibility or are not ideal for everyone to thrive. And so in this garden, we had the tended wilds that we had to tend immediately. They started to sprout, and we put corn, beans, and squash in there. And then we started to learn about more sisters and brothers in that garden, and we found sunflowers. And then we found that the sunflowers will now replant themselves, and we have to tend those because they get all over the place. And the sunflowers give, when we tend them, when we, because you can eat the little sprouts too, they're very nutritious. They shade, or we can create a situation where they shade the potatoes just enough so that they thrive. And then by the time the potatoes can come out, we're planting the corn and the beans. And so we had like supposedly a growing season of like May 15th to September. But because we've been more inclusive of different brothers and sisters, we can grow things almost all year. And a lot of those sisters and brothers are new sisters and brothers. Like when we pull out the pumpkin vines, we plant kale now. And sometimes people will say, oh, that's a non-native plant. I was like, yeah, but it doesn't take over. It's growing, and it's not being intrusive. It's finding its niche like we're finding our niche. So that's just some thoughts I had. We probably only have a few minutes.
Well, yeah, we do. But
Okay.
this is to be continued
Right.
tomorrow.
Right, tomorrow. Because I have so many more things. And I'm sure all of us are like, oh, I want to say this too. So I just want to say one thing before we wrap up for today only. We're coming back tomorrow. This is from Charlotte's house. Charlotte has such an interesting house. Like, it's just full of treasures, and that every space is like lived to the maximum in her house. And so I asked her to pick out something from her house that could be seen different from all sides, okay? And she picked this. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna pass it, and I'm gonna start here, and I'm gonna say exactly what I see, and then I'm gonna pass it to Dr. Wildcat, and I'm gonna turn it a little bit. You can't turn it. Then you're gonna pass it turned a little bit, and I want you to say exactly what you see. So don't like peek around the other side or anything, just what do you see? So I see like kind of like somebody using like one eye like that, and I also see like kind of maybe a fake smile or like maybe a mean smile. I'm not sure. It's like a lot of teeth. That's what I see. There's your side, Dr. Wildcat.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I see again a person with one eye open, and it looks to me like they're asking me, what are you thinking about? So I'll turn this like this and hand to you. Okay?
This side or what?
Yeah, that side right
this
there.
side?
What do you see?
Oh, this is neat. It looks like more than one culture in this person. This person has a dark brown eye and a blue eye and a very high, heavy eyebrow on one side. And from this way, it looks like it has ears that want to hear. I know it's the nose from someone else, but it looks like it's ready to hear. It's ready to listen.
Well, looking straight ahead, I just see one eye, but I see the iris of the eye. It has lines in it. Could be colored. The fibers in the iris, which is the colored part of your eye. The eyelashes. It's the shape of the eye. It's got a large eyebrow. It has a large eyebrow on it. And so that's what I see.
Okay. I see the ocean.
I see someone that has so much to say, but has a stopper in his or her mouth, preventing him from, or her from, speaking all of their feelings.
That's heavy duty. The one eye seems to be focused on the here, and the left eye is kind of off in space. And his mouth is also plugged, although it could be some sort of device that maybe even amplifies the sound. And I think there's a smile under there. Let's see, I think we're turning that way.
Well, I see a fabulous childlike yard sale item. $1. No, what I see is that it looks like his eyes are looking both ways and keeping track of everything while he's moving forward. Wait a minute.
Oh.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, so I see just one eye, and he's also missing an eye. So it kind of reminds me of like that random cat that just shows up. And his mouth looks to be taped closed, or is definitely being muted.
Well, I see somebody who is pretty lost, which is why they have a compass for a mouth. Probably out there lost and thinking, I don't know how to read this, so I'm just going to chew on it. And kind of squinting so they have one eye closed. But yeah, I see somebody who's lost and kind of just doesn't know what to do.
Which side? I was trying not to peek the whole time as you guys were passing this around. I guess I'm immediately kind of drawn to the mouth and kind of the questioning of whether or not the mouth is blocked or is it something being amplified, and kind of just wondering what that circular shape that's in it is all about. Is that decoration, or is it meant to kind of, again, keep that mouth shut? I'm not sure. And I think the eyebrows are kind of opposite too. So that's kind of interesting.
I think now that I have it back, too, I'm thinking about gifts. And like we all said something different. That was the point of this activity, is that we all looked at the same thing and we all saw something different, and none of us are wrong. We're all right. But now, like, all of us picked out like the people stuff. And we didn't wonder, what's it made out of? How is it fired? What's the surface? What's the inside? How much does it hold? Like I think about things like, why is there so much awesome dirt? We talked about that when we were driving around. Like the gifts that we have here that are so obvious, and then the ones that are so almost like out of our simple human capacity at this point to really embrace every day and see. And I think we're about out of time right now, right? So I just want to kind of leave with that, is that I really enjoyed this conversation and getting to know all of you a little bit better. And we have 3 days now to now that we know each other, we know each other's interests, we're going to hear a lot of very challenging talks and be in challenging conversations. But we're all optimistic, and we know the struggle is challenging, and we're not going to get despaired by it, but we're also positive. I was also remarked by that, about how positive and wonderful everyone was. And we're going to find opportunities to mobilize our superpowers, keep a pulse on other people's superpowers, and then also work together and find solidarity in that. Yeah?
I want to say, not to, my yard sale thing I do, is that I saw this as a gift to pay forward to you.
Oh my goodness.
And I have to say, our observations are skewed because I thought it was 3 faces. And last night my husband said, it's 4. I never saw that. So it's so amazing. It takes a village to see the whole picture.
Yep.
So for you.
Thank you. Will you pass your mic, Charlotte?
I know we're rushed for time, but
But we have tomorrow.
I
so-
may not. I know, but I may not be here tomorrow. The beans that I was describing were the Anasasia,
I have those at my house. I have are they red and white spotted, or do you have the black and white spotted ones?
black and white spotted.
Okay, I have both, and
Now
my
what-
black and white ones are prolific
Yeah,
this year.
we picked them up, but they have them at a place here in
Oh, wow.
East Springdale.
Huh.
They have them there, but they're grown in the West, and yes, we have those with cornbread, and they're very delicious.
That's awesome.
But I wanted to tell, but they're the people that grew them were the bluff dwellers south of Durango, Colorado. Is where we found them, and they will grow in almost anything, like
Yeah.
desert. Yeah.
Gosh, there's so many things I want to say right now, but I know we have to wrap it up for tomorrow. But there are so many times I've gone to like celebrations of beans because they've carried us through so many hard times before. Yeah. So, oh no, yeah, that was like she has a wall of beans at her house. That was another band, Wall of Beans. Just thinking of band names. Yeah, so thank you all. I too, Dr. Wildcat, tell people I love them every time I leave them. I think that's really important for us to be doing, to help each other sprout and germinate in the native language that I speak of Anishinaabemowin, and I'm not fluent either. The word for love is Zagadwin, which the word pieces relate to the sacred act of sprouting, meaning you put all your love into something, and there's more factors at play always, and you're never guaranteed a seed or another day or things like that. And also, I was talking with my students the other day because Zagadwin is also the word for stingy. And in English, that's kind of a funky word. But if you think about things you really love and you really know how valuable they are, you're really protective of them. And so maybe I want to leave you with that ambiguity. I love you all, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yay.